Has your ex ever texted you out of nowhere? I had almost forgotten what her name looked like on my screen. Not because I tried to forget. Time just passed. Enough time for life to settle again. A new job, new routines, waking up without thinking about the past. We hadn't spoken for over a year. No, let's stay friends. No attempts to keep anything. Just silence. That's why her message hit me so hard. It was an ordinary evening. My phone was nearby, the screen lit up, and I looked automatically. The name was familiar, but my brain needed a second to believe it. She wrote, "Hey, how are you?" No emojis. No apologies. No reason. As if there hadn't been a breakup, pain, or months of silence between us. I stared at the screen for a long time. Noticed my heart beating faster, and that annoyed me more than anything. Because I knew she wasn't texting for no reason. Our breakup had been heavy. Not loud, but exhausting. One of those endings where you can't really explain who was at fault. She said she needed space. I didn't fight it. And now, a message. A year later. No context. I didn't reply right away. The next day, she texted again. Longer this time. Asked how I was doing, where I lived now, if everything was okay. Said she sometimes thought about me. Something shifted inside me. Like a door I'd locked a long time ago had been opened just a little. I replied. Short. Careful. The conversation flowed easily. Too easily. We talked about life, work, small things. She laughed in text like she used to. And I caught myself waiting for her replies. A few days later, she wrote what I realized was the real reason she reached out. She said she missed me. That leaving had been a mistake. That she often wondered how things could have turned out differently. Reading it didn't bring joy, it brought anxiety. Because her words felt rehearsed. Timed. I asked why she was texting now. She didn't answer for a while. Then admitted it hadn't worked out with the guy she dated after me. That's when everything made sense. I realized I wasn't the past she wanted to return to. I was the place she wanted to rest. I didn't accuse her. Didn't explain. I just said I was glad to hear from her, but I wasn't going back. She didn't text again. And for a long time after, I thought about how dangerous messages from the past can be. Because sometimes they don't come to bring love back. They come to test how open you still are. We met on Discord, on a Valorant server. Not romantic. Just late-night games, voice chat, and that feeling that being around this person was easy. She lived in another city. Not close, actually far. At first, we just played. Then we stayed in calls after matches. Then we stopped playing at all and just talked. After a couple of months, it became real. Daily calls, video chats, plans. When are we finally going to meet? We lasted almost a year. Distance didn't destroy us immediately. Small things did. Unread messages. Being tired. Feeling like life was happening somewhere else, inside a phone. We broke up quietly. She said she wanted a real life, not constant waiting. I said I understood, even though I didn't. We cut contact completely. Deleted each other. Almost 8 months passed. Then one night, out of nowhere, my phone buzzed. Her name. The kind you don't confuse with anyone else. The message was short. I accidentally opened Discord and thought of you. I stared at the screen, feeling everything at once. Anger, relief, confusion. I didn't reply. She texted again. Asked how I was doing, where I was now. Said that a lot had changed. We started talking. Carefully. Like walking through a minefield. She told me she tried dating someone in her city. It didn't work. Said no one understood her the way I did. That's when it hurt. Because I realized. She didn't miss me. She missed who I used to be for her. I asked why she reached out now. She answered honestly. She just wanted to go back to a place that felt safe. That was enough. I told her I was glad she was okay, but I wasn't someone she could return to just to talk. She read it. Went quiet for a while. Then said, I understand. She never texted again. Sometimes your ex doesn't come back to restart the story. They come back to check. If you're still the place they can hide when it hurts. She texted me when I had finally started to believe the past was done. About 6 months had passed. Not fresh pain anymore, but not emptiness either. I got used to the silence. I stopped checking my phone at night. Then the message appeared. No warning. No context. Just, I think we need to talk. My chest tightened. Not because I missed her, but because messages like that are never harmless. I didn't want to reply, honestly, but curiosity won. We started texting, carefully at first, then warmer. She asked how I was doing. Said she often thought about us. Said she'd rethought a lot of things. She said she left too suddenly back then. Said she wasn't ready. Said she might have been scared. Reading it, I felt anger mixing with hope, the most dangerous combination. A couple of days later, she asked to meet. Said she just wanted to see me. No pressure. Just to talk. I agreed. Even though everything inside me said it was a bad idea. We met at a cafe we used to go to together. She looked almost the same, just calmer. More distant. The conversation flowed easily. Too easily. We joked. Remembered things. At one point, it felt like something between us was still alive. That's when she said the truth. She admitted she hadn't been alone all this time. That she had someone. That the relationship wasn't perfect, but stable. And she wasn't planning to change anything. She said she texted because things had been hard for her, because she was going through a rough period, because she needed to know the past was still there. I sat across from her feeling used, like I'd been taken out of a drawer, checked, and put back. I asked why she did this then. She answered almost honestly. She needed closure. We said goodbye calmly, even hugged, but inside, everything collapsed. An hour later, I saw her Instagram story. She was sitting next to that same guy, smiling, completely fine. That's when I understood. For her, it was just a conversation. For me, it was a second breakup. She never texted again, and I kept thinking about the moment I chose to reply. Because sometimes exes don't come back to fix things. They come back to make sure you're still available, even when they don't need you anymore. I used to believe one thing for sure. When exes come back, it's because they regret it, because they realize something, because love is still there. That wasn't my story. I was the one who came back. When we were together, life didn't feel chaotic. Normal days, familiar evenings, our jokes, our plans. We weren't on fire, but we weren't fading either. I thought that was what adult closeness looked like. The problem didn't come from inside the relationship. It came from the outside, in the form of another man. She didn't hide that he appeared. At first, she just mentioned him. Then she became busy more often. Then she said she was confused. The day she left, I didn't make a scene. I didn't beg. I didn't yell. She said she wanted to try something different, that her feelings had changed, that she didn't want to lie to me or herself. I agreed, because I didn't have another choice. But after the breakup, I did something I didn't expect from myself. I couldn't let go. I followed her on social media, not out of curiosity, out of pain. Every new photo hit me somewhere under the ribs, especially when he was there with her. I knew where they went, which cafes, which places she used to love with me, and now with him. I told my friends I was fine, that I'd moved on, that I was okay. Then I went home and checked her page again. Months passed. I tried to start something new, but kept comparing. Every time. And always losing. When I found out they'd broken up, I didn't feel happy. I felt relief. And immediately, shame. I caught myself thinking this was my chance. Even though I knew exactly why it existed. I waited. Told myself that if she wanted to, she would text first. She didn't. So I did. No long messages. No confessions. Just, hey, how are you? She replied almost instantly. Too fast to be a coincidence. We talked for days. We didn't directly discuss the past, but it was present in every line. She complained carefully. I pretended I was just listening. She said things with him were unstable. Too many emotions. Not enough safety. She said she was tired. I didn't hear regret. I heard disappointment. When we met, the atmosphere felt wrong. The closeness wasn't there, but we weren't strangers either. Sitting across from her, I realized something uncomfortable. She didn't come back. She retreated. She never said, I chose you. She said, I made a mistake. We got back together. Slowly. Awkwardly. Carefully. I noticed myself needing reassurance. Trying harder. Being quieter. More convenient. Sometimes I think we're happy. Other times, I think we just agreed not to look too deeply. I know I texted first not out of strength, but out of weakness. And the truth is, sometimes people return not because everything is fixed, but because neither of them ever learned how to be alone. She didn't leave gracefully. No long talks. No, let's try to separate. She packed her things and said she couldn't live like this anymore. A week later, I found out she wasn't alone. 2 weeks later, that she was already living with another man. The kids stayed with me. 2 small humans asking every morning where their mom was. And I had no idea how to answer without lying or breaking them. The first months, I lived on autopilot. Daycare, school, work, cooking, laundry, sleepless nights. I wasn't allowed to fall apart, because if I did, everything would collapse. She didn't text, didn't call, sometimes sent money, sometimes didn't. I heard about her from others, that she was drinking, that she changed jobs, that things didn't work out with the guy. 2 years passed. I stopped waiting, stopped being angry the same way. I just lived. Then one evening, after the kids were asleep, my phone buzzed. Her name. The kind you never forget, even if you want to. The message was long. Too long to be casual. She wrote that she finally understood everything. That she was broken. That she made terrible choices. That alcohol stole 2 years of her life. She said she missed the kids, the family, the home. I didn't feel pity. I felt tired. She said she wanted to come back. To try again. Said everything would be different now. I stared at the screen, thinking about nights when one child cried and the other asked for their mom. About sick days I had to take because no one else was there. About learning how to be both parents at once. I didn't reply right away. I told her the kids grew up without her. That we learned how to live without waiting. That I couldn't bring back into their lives someone who already chose to leave once. She started defending herself. Said I was cruel. Said people deserve second chances. I closed the chat. Because a second chance is when you make a mistake. Not when you leave, drink, disappear, and come back once life breaks you. Sometimes exes don't text because they miss you. They text because they have nowhere else to go. She texted me on the day I finally stopped waiting. More than a year had passed. I wasn't checking her page anymore. Wasn't replaying the past at night. I was just living, without expectations, without imagining anything. Our breakup hadn't involved cheating or someone else. It was exhaustion. We stopped hearing each other, and one day it felt easier to leave than to keep trying. Back then, I still hoped she'd change her mind. She didn't. And then, a year later, a message. Not hi. Not how are you. She wrote, I saw you today. I read it 5 times. We hadn't crossed paths. I was sure of it. I replied that she must be mistaken. She said she wasn't. That she saw me on the subway. That I'd changed. That I looked calm. That hit harder than any confession. Because I realized she'd been watching. We started texting. No flirting. No memories. Just 2 people who know too much about each other. She asked if I was seeing anyone. I answered honestly, no. I didn't ask about her. And that seemed to bother her. She wrote on her own that she'd been in a serious relationship. Almost a family. But it had recently ended. I knew where this was going. And I didn't like it. A few days later, she asked to meet. Said she just wanted to talk. No hidden meaning. I thought about it for a long time. Then agreed. Out of curiosity, maybe to close something inside. We met during the day, in a busy place. She looked nervous. I felt calm, and that felt strange. She talked a lot. About mistakes. About how breaking up back then had been wrong. About realizing things too late. I listened and noticed something unexpected. It didn't hurt anymore. When she asked if I saw us getting back together, I didn't answer right away. Not because I was unsure, but because I wanted to say it right. I told her she was too late. Not cruelly. Not coldly. Just honestly. She cried. Said she hoped I was still the same person. That's when I understood. Sometimes exes don't text because they want to be with you. They text because they're afraid to find out that you've become someone else. We said goodbye calmly. She never texted again. And for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel emptiness. I felt closure. After the breakup, I was sure it ended the right way. Not because it was easy, but because it got quiet. We broke up abruptly, almost without conversation. She said she needed to be alone. I didn't argue. I was tired. At first, I waited for a message. Checked my phone. Reacted to every notification. Then I stopped. About 4 months passed, and I finally felt normal again. Went back to the gym. Started going out more. Changed my route to work. Life became mine again. That's when she texted. The message was short. You look good today. I read it several times. We hadn't seen each other. I was sure of that. I replied that she must have confused me with someone else. She didn't argue. She described where she saw me. Mentioned my clothes. Even said I'd stopped at a coffee shop and stood by the display for a while. Something twisted in my stomach. I asked why she was telling me this. She said she just wanted to say it. That she sometimes watched. That there was nothing wrong with it. After that, familiar places stopped feeling safe. A few days later, she texted again. Asked why I'd changed my route. Asked if I liked my new haircut. Said I looked better without a beard. I hadn't posted photos. I hadn't told anyone. I asked her to stop contacting me. She replied calmly. Said she didn't mean harm. That she missed me. That she was used to being close. I blocked her. A week later, I received an email. From a private address. No name. The message was short. She wrote that she noticed I came home later now. That I stopped by the grocery store near my job more often. And that the woman I sometimes went out with wasn't really my type. A cold feeling spread under my skin. I changed my number. Deleted social media. Avoided routines. It didn't stop. Sometimes she texted from new accounts. Sometimes just sent observations. Today you look tense. You don't look around as much anymore. You used to smile more. The last message came at night. She said she understood that I was angry, but that she would always know where I was. Because when you love someone for real, you don't stop seeing them, even after they leave. I never replied. Months passed. Everything stopped as suddenly as it began. But even now, when I step outside and feel someone watching, my first thought isn't a stranger. It's someone who once knew me too well and didn't know how to stop. After the breakup, I did everything right. Deleted the chats. Removed her number. Didn't look for meetings. Didn't ask questions. We didn't break up with hatred. We broke from exhaustion. Long conversations, attempts to fix things, emotional burnout. At some point, we both understood we couldn't stay without destroying each other. I breathed out and decided it was over. Almost 9 months passed. During that time, I changed jobs, started living differently, stopped revisiting the past. Not because I forgot, because I let it go. Then one day, a message came from an unknown number. No name, just text. Do you still drink your coffee without sugar? My stomach dropped immediately. That was our detail. A tiny thing no one else knew. Not even my friends. I didn't reply. A few hours later, another message arrived. Sorry if this is strange. I just suddenly remembered. I didn't need to ask who it was. I knew. I replied that she had the wrong number. The response came almost instantly. You always said that when you didn't want to talk. It was too precise. Too personal. Like the conversation hadn't ended 9 months ago, just paused. I felt irritation and anxiety. I asked why she was texting me. She said she didn't want anything, that she just woke up with a feeling she needed to write, that sometimes the past comes back not because it wants to be the future, but because it was never fully processed. That made me angry. I told her it was long over and I didn't want to reopen anything. She apologized, said she understood, and disappeared, exactly for a week. Then another message. This one mentioned my mother, how she used to worry about me, about a night we once spent in the kitchen when she said I carried too much on my shoulders. I didn't remember telling her that, but I probably had. A long time ago, that's when the tension started to build, like someone was carefully opening boxes from my life. I told her to stop. She sent a long message, said she wasn't trying to come back, said she was just talking to me the way we used to, said no one else understood her like I did. That's when I understood the real danger. She wasn't pulling me back directly. She was rebuilding the context in which I used to be hers. The messages came every few days. Not often, not aggressively, always aimed exactly where I was weakest. When I was tired, she wrote about my burnout. When I struggled, she remembered how I used to cope. When I went quiet, she said she knew what that meant. She didn't ask questions. She made statements. I noticed myself waiting for her messages, and that scared me more than anything, because I realized she wasn't watching my present. She was controlling me through memory. The last message was the simplest one. Do you still think we never had a chance? I stared at the screen for a long time. For the first time, I didn't feel anger, just fatigue and fear. I understood that if I replied, I'd fall back into an old version of myself. The same conversations, the same doubts, the same pain. I didn't respond. I changed my number, and it stopped. But sometimes, when I automatically order coffee without sugar, a strange thought hits me. The scariest people aren't the ones who can't let you go. They're the ones who remember you better than you remember yourself, and know exactly how to use it.